Thanks very much for joining us here on the Key Points. Now, in over a week, we've seen arrests of two of my colleagues, Onyoa TV and Radio's Captain Smart. We also had a producer of ours, Connect FM, who was assaulted and later arrested. Other journalists with Power FM, or Heneba Benny of Power FM and TVXYZ, and the most recent one that's happened over the last 24 hours, Kwabena Bobie and South Accra FM. We've also seen two civil society activists getting caught up as well. Mensa Thompson was arrested, detained. He's with ASEPA, was sent to court on criminal charges of publicizing or publishing fake news. He's been granted bail. And overnight, Oliver Bakavoma of the Fix the Country movement has also been arrested upon arrival at the Kotoka International Airport. Initially, his whereabouts were deemed to be unknown, but we've just been getting reports from the police about what's been happening to him. So I'll just take you through that. But just to let you know that Bobie Ansah has also been granted bail in the sum of 50,000 Ghana cedis. Bail also for Captain Smart with sureties, as well as that for the Connect FM journalist, Mr. Nana Eric Jetua, whose case is being looked at by PIPS as well. So let me read what's been coming from the police just this morning. And it's titled, "Man Arrested for Threatening a Coup." Mr. Oliver Bakavomowo has been arrested by the Tema Regional Police Command following a post he allegedly made on social media to the effect that he will stage a coup himself if the e-levy bill is passed by Parliament. The post contained a clear statement of intent with the possible will to execute a coup in his declaration of intent to subvert the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. He is going to be arraigned before court on Monday, 14th February 2022, and we continue to call on the good people of Ghana to avoid making pronouncements that may lead to a breach of the peace of the country, as well as any that contravene the laws of this country. So this has been happening overnight, so we need to really quickly address this quickly. So let's speak first to Justice Abdullahi. He's a lecturer in law at the University of Professional Studies Accra's Faculty of Law. He joins us via Zoom. So thank you very much, Justice. You need to switch direction and look straight at me. Thanks very much. So your initial reaction to suggestions that civil society members and also journalists may be acting, recklessly, or is there an attempt using a state agency by the police to criminalize free speech?
Thank you, Jifa, and my deepest regards to my good friends in the House, in fact, the two honorables. I can see, I don't know whether it's Suhini shaking something. I don't know whether it's shaking at me or shaking to attack me later. But
and yeah, so we have Honorable Suhini in the studio, and we also have Honorable Issa in the studio as well. So
yes,
they'll be
indeed,
joining us for the rest of the conversation.
And my Issa has always been a gentleman, and so I'm sure he will be. I know the two of them will never fight under any circumstances. To the substantive issue, I think that if collectively, if you put the various arrests together and you look at it holistically in the form of an attack on the media, it is easier for anyone to conclude that indeed the government is being hard-handed on them, on civil society, and indeed on the media generally. But if we do a deeper analysis of each of these persons individually, I think some of them genuinely warrant the arrest. For instance, the incitement by my good friend, the lawyer,
Oliver Bakavomowo.
I think it's too much of. It's clearly on defense. I mean, not the kind of comment that I would expect from a lawyer. And he's a very good material to this republic, and so he will be the last person I would expect to make such comments. I'll take these comments from any street guy or any foot soldier, but definitely not from him, because I have shared a lot of platforms with him. I know the kind of wisdom and resource base that this guy is, and so I was disturbed when I read that post, and so when the police took this action on him, I wasn't surprised at all.
Okay.
People have been arrested for far less offense, indeed, and so like I said, so individually, it kind of makes sense. If you check, if you read the arrest of Captain Smart and the involvement of national security, completely unnecessary, unwarranted, and in no way defensible. Captain Smart is alleged to have defrauded or extorted some money from some people. I think that is legitimately within the confines of the police administration to take care of. But to bring in the national security, either in their bid to show him where power lies, or probably pay him back for whatever he's alleged to have done against the president or the government, for me is highly unwarranted, and nothing good can be said about that conduct. I think going forward, we should probably conduct ourselves better, particularly when you have national security being used to perpetuate some of these unlawful conducts. I do not think it is good for our republic. It's not good for our democracy. And I think we should all condemn it. I condemned it on the first day. And I implore everyone to condemn the misconduct of national security. I remember during and after the Ayawaso West Wagon incident, we all had our bite on the reformation of the entire national security setup, particularly because of the manner that it's been used over the years. Clear cases of abuses. It appears that every time the state would want to abuse the rights of others or intimidate the other persons, or in a way put fear in dissenting opinions, national security is called upon to execute such a task. And as far as I know, national security is not set up for such ruthless purposes. National security is for a serious business, and using national security to attack opponents and people who disagree with the state and people who think that better things can be expected and be done by the state. I think such persons, whether they call themselves civil society or media or any other language or nomenclature that can be used for describing such persons, I think the state should rather embrace such people and find means of addressing the issues and concerns that such individuals or organizations have in contributing to better our lot.
Okay, so Justice, let me come in at that point that you make about embracing people on the issues that they have and addressing it. In the case of the media, arrests and all that, they are deemed to have made, reckless statements. We know that there are processes. If you're unhappy with a media person, you either file a case of defamation against them, or you go to the National Media Commission. The police seem to be the entity pursuing these instances, not necessarily the individuals involved. What impression does that give you? Because it means then that this is bringing or trying to do criminal libel through the back door.
Indeed, I would have ended up addressing those matters as well. But once you are giving me a parachute to jump, let me just go there straight up. So my position here is that there is a purpose for setting up the NMC, the National Media Commission. And that purpose is to streamline the activities of media personnel, and indeed to bring those who are found to have breached their ethics and other things to book, and such that we have a better and responsible media house and media fraternity within this jurisdiction. Unfortunately for us, we have now passed laws that are quite wide in its application, which did not in any way have these recent incidents in mind at the time of its passing. Indeed, these laws on false publications and their host of sister laws were passed, in my estimation, to prevent and in a lot of ways political insecurity, particularly during political seasons where people would make all kinds of inciting comments and comments that could potentially affect the security of the nation. This was the primary essence of passing these laws. Unfortunately for us, today, we are using those laws against our own selves because the law is quite wide in its application and very and quite ambiguous in its scope. So if you have a kind of president who demonstrates some amount of intolerance, every single person, including his wife, could be found foul of this law. Because all you need to do is to make a comment that is potentially not true, and you could be arrested by the police.
Now,
I mean, this is the extreme version, this is the extreme way of interpreting this law. But the reality is that is what is happening today. The moment an individual makes a comment that appears to be false, that person, regardless of the ramifications of that comment, he'll be held before the court, and justifiably so, because the law allows that. However, I think the intent of that law should be the essence of its application and enforcement. And that intent is the fact, and is as I stated earlier, to focus on political instability, comments that could potentially, I wouldn't cite lawyers' comment as one of those, but depending on how you would want to go about it, indeed, it could fall within such classes of offenses that is being looked at. In addition to that, the comments that are made during political season, the campaign periods, there are a lot of harsh comments and sometimes very dangerous comments that are made within this period. In my understanding of the law is that these are the comments that the state sought to prevent. But today, individuals who do not have the potential of subverting the Constitution, or who do not even have any means for carrying out the intentions that they express, or even the views that they express, however harsh it may be, such persons are arrested under this law and prosecuted. And if you are not lucky and found guilty, you probably may have the highest form of punishment, which would include life imprisonment or possibly death. And that is very dangerous. It could be a law that could be misused against dissenting opinions. And this is where I would urge us to look at it from and possibly have a very good conversation around this and put the law in its perspective to address the mischief that we sought to address at the time that we passed it.
All right. Now, finally, some of these issues being raised, there's been some criticism of the National Media Commission, the Ghana Journalists Association. Is there anything they can do to steer people away from going to the courts quickly to do what you've been raising, and then follow the constitutional laid down process to address issues that they feel they are dissatisfied with?
I mean, clearly from this moment, it appears that all of us need some form of education with this law that is being used against everyone. We all need some form of education on that. And the media is the biggest stakeholder here to address, to have some form of education amongst themselves, and indeed within all of us that appear to use this space to communicate our views and indeed attempt to educate the public. We all need this form of education, but the National Media Commission has even a more greater burden to ensure that its members and the stakeholders that fall within its scope are aware of some of these matters. Because indeed, there are times where sensationalism would necessarily include making some of these comments. They may not be true, but they definitely do not affect the security of the nation, for which reason some of these laws should be applied to such persons. But unfortunately, it will be applied to you because it's a false statement that you made. And it is in view of this that such education be had, and indeed a call for reformation, maybe an amendment of this law to target what it sought to achieve, and not to now make every single media personnel and media houses look like monsters. That is not what media houses are set up for. They are set up to educate and inform. And in their bit to doing that, maybe sensationalism may get out of the way, and one false statement or one unacceptable comment may be made. But we should not kill that kind of person with a sledgehammer when he deserves better.
All right. Thank you very much, Justice Abdullah, lecturer in law at the UPSA faculty. Let's now speak to Ben Efson. He is one of our senior colleagues and has been a reporter for the BBC. He is the managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. He's also a pollster, so has covered quite the length and breadth of our politics and media since the 1980s till now, when there was really a culture of silence. Mr. Efson, good morning. Hello, Mr. Efson, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can, loud and clear. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you too?
Not bad. Not bad. Thank you for asking. Good to speak to you. I think this is my first time speaking to you on Key Points, so thank you for joining us. So to start with, are we returning to an era of political intolerance where, politically exposed persons, politically powerful persons, people linked to the current administration are taking advantage of what could be a draconian, legal process to hound journalists who may say things they don't agree with or may say are not true?
Well, once the tongue and the teeth are in the mouth, there are going to be instances that the two will conflict. It depends on how you deal with it. I believe that the line between expressing our views and stepping on people's toes is a very thin one. For example, I do a story not even against a politically exposed person, and the person goes to report me to the police, and I am invited. I will go with my lawyer. I will not refuse to go. There are two things that there are draconian laws that are being used. That one, we can fight against it. But that does not give the media this opportunity to malign somebody. It's unfortunate that the recent incidents have come from politically exposed persons that the media is being asked. But if the police ask you, they invite you and you don't come, they will pick you up. I think that I started this job when I was a student, 1974. We went through, like you said, Rawlings regime and so on. We will not sit down for any government in our democracy to trample on the rights of the media. In the same way, I will not agree that because we have the pen, we should be able, at first instance, be able to trample on the rest. I'm sure people who are not in politics, which the media tramples on, will not have the time, they may not have the resources. So I think that they need to have a conversation. In fact, there are many ways of killing a cat. And whenever I have the opportunity and these things happen, and I call my colleagues, I say, look, what you did this way, you could have done it this way. Wait, you send a reminder, you make sure you send a questionnaire. If it is not answered, you do your story. When you are invited, I say, look, I called Mr. A. This is the evidence that I sent him questionnaire. He did not mind me. But we need to be careful that they don't use, somebody will use his or her silence to intimidate the media. So it's a very thin line that we must have a dispassionate conversation on, Jifa.
Yeah, but Mr. Efson, the other issue is the police seem to act in a way that is ultra virus. They don't give the option of you to come with your lawyer. They either beat you up there and then bundle you to the police station, and then it's left to your media owner to chase you or hunt you down. In the case of civil society, Mr. Mensah Thompson, he apologized after his comment claiming that the president's family had used the presidential jet during the Christmas holidays. He apologized when the military came out and said it wasn't true and all that. After that, why file criminal charges against him? And now he has to go before court. It just shows you also that it seems there's an attempt to cower the media, to intimidate media people who may be bold enough to say what is on everyone's mind, but maybe no one else wants to bail the cat.
You see, I've worn these two shoes before. I used to have an NGO, Ghana Led. We started election observation in this country from 1992 for about 10 years before the stress was too much and I concentrated on the media. If you are a civil society organization and somebody comes to tell you, somebody gives you information that
That's my colleague.
the president's family has traveled on a presidential jet, you release the information, then you know it's not true, then you apologize. I think that civil society must be able to do a bit of checking, because we need to be careful at the same time whilst trying to put the spotlight on those who use our taxpayers' money. That somebody will tell you something, you will go put it out there, after a week you apologize. I think that the issue of apologizing after recklessly, because look, this is a very serious statement that if I'm to do such a story, anybody who gives me that information, I'll ask for further details. You understand? I think that the issue of the criminal is what we need to look at. Because people think that you can attack anybody to say that the president family took a presidential jet, then you apologize. I think that the line is being blurred there. We've done very many, and many stories which border on people's abuse. Look, if I had a picture of the family disembarking from the plane and so on, I can confidently go ahead and do it. Otherwise, we need to be careful that anybody who will be in power in future, now or thereafter, people will give us stories, and as civil society, they must also draw the line and weigh the information as we media do. I don't think that any media house would have published that story. I'm not saying that the criminal aspect is good, but civil society must also use the measures and the text that the media use before the publication of those stories. We need to be very careful about that. I mean, for example, our colleagues in Class FM, the police invited him. That's what the police are saying. Well, he's been given bail. When he goes to court, is it true that you are invited? If you are invited for a question, you go to your lawyer to give you bail. But when you refuse to go, they'll come and pick you up. Okay, that makes it difficult for us, for some of us to defend it.
Okay, but Mr. Efson. Okay, but Mr. Efson, the point is, anyone who is dissatisfied can follow a constitutional process, which is laid down already. You can go to the National Media Commission. You can file for defamation. So that is why many are wondering, why go through this process? But then, are you concerned, or is it normal that the NMC, the Ghana Journalists Association, have been quite silent about these incidences over the last 2 weeks? I know that GJA filed a statement condemning the assault of my colleague at Connect FM. But really, the kind of advocacy that we saw in the past by previous GJA executives and presidents leaves what is happening now much to be desired.
Oh, I think that the GJA now is in a limbo. Elections are due. I think the GJA should be a bit more proactive in ensuring. We think that we should engage the police more. I mean, for example, if I'm a civilian, I'm at a drinking bar, and you want to take photographs of me, I'm a civilian, I will deal with you if I can, physically. So, if you want to do active journalism, that you see policemen in uniform at a bar drinking, you must have the equipment to take on-scene shots. I'm not saying what the police did was right in beating that person, but you must also remember that the person knows that he's doing the wrong thing. Once the picture comes out, he's finished. We must, you see, DJ, I think, is faulted on both sides. Yes, we must take on the appropriate authorities that they are being strong-handed in dealing with issues, trying to cower to submission. But at the same time, we must let our members know that there are certain things that you must do. You must be careful, because if under military regimes, we protected the media, we fought for press freedom. We want to do more on the constitutional rule. We need to buy a man that, look, the last election results, tells you one thing and confirms what I've always suspected, that the Ghanaian voter is one of the most intelligent on the continent, and that swing voters are about a third now. You will see that in certain regions, the voters decided to punish the MPP government by voting out their members of parliament. I'm doing some work on a new book, and I can exclusively tell you, that it was the free SHS and the inability of Mr. John Mahama to articulate whether he will cancel it or not that helped Akufo-Addo pass the finishing line in the presidential. So if you're a politician and you think you want to manhandle the media and people will keep quiet, we should bear in mind you are dealing with a very intelligent voting population out there. So I agree with you, we must be able to take on the process, but I think that our colleagues, you are taking a picture of a uniformed policeman. If I was in that position, I'll manhandle you, because once he comes out, I'm finished.
Okay, but so, Mr. Epson, I think the final question I have for you, and briefly if you can, there is a view that this government is intolerant, that over the last 5 years, the Akufo-Addo administration has not demonstrated the will to continue on the path of press freedom, and that the Press Freedom Index demonstrates this. The various incidences involving journalists over the last 5 years demonstrates that. There was a petition filed at Parliament by the Media Foundation of West Africa about the, growing intolerance. And now this. Is the Akufo-Addo government not being more intolerant than previous administrations?
I think that we've allowed them to be intolerant. We need to put more fire on them. When there are instances of blatant abuse of rights of journalists, we've kept quiet as DJA, and we must be able to put more fire at the appropriate place. We've allowed them to be intolerant. Even under which regime survive, how much more constitutional governments? So we have allowed them to be intolerant, and we must be able to bring them in check.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Epson. And Ben Epson is the managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. We're still here on the key points on 3FM 92.7 and on TV3. Let me now formally welcome our guests to the studio. The Honorable Alassane Suhuyini is the MP for Tamale North. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Jiva.
The Honorable Issa Hussaini, who is former MP for Okaikwe North. You're welcome and thank you for coming.
Good morning.
All right, so these happened overnight, and that's why I had to take up a bit of the time to do that, because for you both, we want to take a look at the economy. But if you want to make preliminary comments on the issues relating to media freedoms, people's speech being purportedly criminalized, Honorable Suhuyini, I can give you the floor to do that.
Well, Jifa, good morning to you once again. Good morning to my brother Hussaini. And then Good morning to our viewers, especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. Jifa, let me start off by quoting His Excellency President Akufo-Addo. This was something he said when he was campaigning to be president. And then he repeated it somewhere last year when he was interacting with media personalities. Quote, "I will say again that I much prefer the noisy, boisterous, sometimes querulous media of today to the monotonous, praise-singing, sycophantic one of yesteryears." Unquote. This was President Akufo-Addo when he was running to be president, which he repeated when he became president. So,
I think he said that at the World Press Freedom Day in 2018.
Yes, yes. So you wonder if this is one of the many things that he has said to us that he never intended to, carry through. The many things, because maybe for emphasis I should quote it again. I say again, and that's he was repeating, that I much prefer the noisy, boisterous, sometimes querulous media of today to the monotonous, praise-singing, sycophantic one of yesteryears. Quote and unquote. Now, what is happening? And let me state up front that having worked in the media over the years, I'm not one to pretend that some media personnel haven't been reckless. Indeed, even in the days that we campaigned for the repeal of the criminal libel law, it is not as if those who were undergoing prosecution under that law did no wrong. You remember the claim that the former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings had bought a jacuzzi? You remember the stories around that? So it's not as if it is a new phenomenon for journalists to get it wrong sometimes. So I want to state up front. I want to state up front, Chifa, that I am one that is all for responsible free speech. I am all for responsible free speech. But let us be mindful that no country in the world has ever succeeded in ensuring responsible free speech by using the coercive powers of state. No state. It is not sustainable. You do not achieve responsible free speech using the state's strong arm. There are other powers, persuasive powers, that states over the years have used to build their media. And that is what we all anticipated when we embraced the Fourth Republic. And it is such a shame that President Akufo-Addo, who takes pride in the role that he played, either as opposition member of parliament or as an attorney general in the repeal of the criminal libel law, to rise to become president and oversee the kind of things that we are seeing on the media front. In fact, when you showed your colleague from Connect FM, I thought he was one of the armed robbers that are usually arrested and manhandled. Seriously. For a president with that record of campaigning for free speech, demonstrating for free speech, taking pride in the repeal of the criminal libel law, to supervise for the first time in our history the closure of over 100 radio stations for regulatory breaches, even though many people believe that it was politically motivated and targeted at critical media. It's a shame. It's a shame for him to rise to become president and look on whilst a journalist is gunned down until we speak. No one is held responsible for his death. Ahmed Swale, especially at a time he was involved in premiering an investigative documentary that he and his team members had carried out into Ghana football, maybe Africa football, because the consequences went beyond Ghana. Till today, Edward Adeti from the Upper East region, we all witnessed what happened to him after he reported on corruption at the AG's office in Upper East region, leading to the resignation of the Upper East regional minister, who incidentally was brought to the Flagstaff House as Minister of State after his resignation. And remember, Edward Adeti's case also involved a judge. So when these things are happening, and we do not, rise up as a people to condemn it and draw the nation's attention to it, especially those in charge attention to it, we put our democracy at risk. Look, I have listened, Jifa, to a number of conversations on media platforms and outside media platforms, especially since we started witnessing the resurgence of coup d'etats in the sub-region. I've listened to discussions of people trying to contrast military regimes with democratic regimes and which of them serves our purpose better. That is a dangerous path for us to tread on. So far, listening to those discussions, Ifa, one argument that I see that stands out strongly, that has not been rebutted by proponents of military regime, is the fact that people are guaranteed under the democracy that we practice to criticize their leadership without fear of recrimination. It is one argument that is so strong for democracy that if we dare defeat that argument and begin to make people feel that they do not even have the right to criticize their leaders again without fear of recrimination, then we'll have nothing going for our democracy anymore. Right. So, once again, let me repeat that I am for responsible free speech, but no state has ever achieved that using the coercive powers of state to do so.
Honorable Issa, your thoughts on this then?
Good morning to you again, Jifa, and good morning to my brother, Alhaji Sunil. And a good morning to your viewers, especially from Okankwe North, people who I was fortunate to have represented in the 7th Parliament. Jifa, for a man my age, just under 50 years, I have lived through different regimes when it comes to the media landscape. I have seen our media landscape evolve over time. I can recollect as a young person when we had only GBC as the only media outlet in Ghana, where subsequently we had an FM station who will open at 6 and then close at 9 a.m. and then come back at 3 and close at 9. At the time, GBC 1, GBC 2, we had only one television station. Today, look at how our media has evolved over the last 30 years or so. Newspaper was quite a scarce commodity in times gone by. I recollect my time in Presec where I was such a good boy, so I used to go by the Free Press and the Statesman for my housemaster, the late Mr. Adodankwa, may he so rest in peace. It's one of the times when I also got open to what was happening, because even in secondary school I had access to these things, and then so the role of the media is such a critical thing in the evolution of governance and evolution of this country. We cannot take it for granted. I am happy that today we have a president whose record when it comes to protection of media freedom is unblemished. It is clean.
That is before, it seems, before he became president. So let's talk about what has happened over the last 5 years.
I will repeat that statement, that today we have a president whose record at protecting, fighting for the freedom of the media is unblemished.
Even with these examples that Honorable Suhi
right
has
from
raised.
the days of the radio eyes until the repeal of the criminal libel law and all of that. His record is there for everybody to see. So why would he change as a president? You see, Ben Epson was saying something, and even before that, Lawyer Abdullah was saying something like, let's not put all these instances together. Let's look at them in isolation. The case of the gentleman who leads the Ghana Fix the Country movement.
The lawyer, one of the conveners of Fix the Country, Oliver Barker-Vormawor,
okay.
Civil Society.
Okay. Given the situation in the sub-region today, I don't think any responsible national security apparatus would take it for granted for anybody who has been able to get on the road, has been able to mobilize people, making such a statement, and then we have to say until because we want to practice freedom of speech, the media, people should be free at expressing how they feel, so we just overlook it and let it go. I think that it is the responsibility of the national security apparatus to find out what is actually happening. What is causing him? I mean, what is his stance? Why is he making such a statement? I think that every responsible person in Ghana should support the national security apparatus in investigating statements like that.
Okay, so that's one instance.
Under Liman's government, it was rumored. And eventually, we experienced what happened on 31st of December, 1981. Eventually, we did. People were making statements. We experienced it. And I still think that if we had continued our Third Republic, we probably would have made a lot more progress as a nation than where we are today. Other instances, the Bobian sign.
But the point is, those who are aggrieved. I want to make a point. I think the main point I'm just trying to raise is those who are aggrieved can use the NMC, file a complaint there, or you file defamation. The defense for defamation is the truth. You don't have to now go with the police for all this.
I don't think for one moment that all these are state sponsored. I don't want to believe that. But you see, there are remedies for you thinking that your reputation is being injured or something false is being published about you, and so you have to go and then do a rejoinder, and then you are compelled. Look, somebody is watching TV this morning. You make a statement, it passes, person hears it, takes it as you make it. The person probably will not have access to a subsequent rebroadcast of a rejoinder, annulling what you had said earlier. All of those things. So what I will call for as a responsible Ghanaian is to call for responsible media.
So so the question is, can we not criticize our leaders anymore?
Not too long ago.
In the previous administration,
I have not said so.
In the previous administration, there were things that were said that were deemed to have been lies against former President Mahama, against her first lady, Modina Mahama.
West was done against President
all those things were, they never filed any criminal case against anyone.
West was done against the
He never filed anything against, he never filed. So the point we are trying to make is, it is the criminalization.
I'm not rationalizing any act of abuse or anything in the media or against any media person. But I'm telling you that West was done against the government of President.
But they never filed any criminal.
We were in this country where bank statements were taken around, purporting to be bank statements of active people in government. We were in this country where people like my former colleague, Honorable Fifikwete, alleged that the vault in Bank of Ghana has been broken into and our gold and everything has been stolen by them. Weren't we in this country? Would you call that responsible acts in the media? Is that what we want to support?
No, we are not supporting. We are not supporting that. But
if this morning you want to tell me that under President Mahama, worse was done. I can also rationalize it, but I don't think that is a way.
That's not the way. So the point I'm trying to make is, to the extent that leaders from that era,
not long ago,
up till 2016, had all sorts of things said about them. They didn't file criminal charges against anyone. I'm just asking, should that change now? That's all I'm asking.
For us to make progress as a nation, we need to build strong institutions. That one I don't think any of us will argue about. But you see, a little over a week ago, we had the case in Sekondi Takrady, where a policeman in a district, who I would think, for the MC being the head of the regional security council, the policeman should have been working under a commander within the municipality. But the policeman was able to cause the arrest of the MC, who should actually be the head of the security arrangements within the municipality. What did we say about that? We praise the policeman. Lots of us praise the policeman, and it's right. We are building institutions, so let's go on that way. That doesn't mean that if a policeman, not too long ago, another policeman was also caught drunk. A same media expose. He was, a policeman in police uniform who couldn't even walk on his own. You see, these things will happen. But I don't think that we should sit here and think that it's a state-sponsored something with the hand of the president because we want to accuse him wrongly. Look, the president's record when it comes to protecting the freedoms we enjoy in our media is unblemished. It's unblemished. I don't think, yes, he has compatriots who probably worked with him around the time to see our media landscape evolve. This morning, it's a Saturday morning. We are here. My brother here is not being gagged. Your media house can do anything so far as it is responsible. That is why we have laws. That is why we have laws. So nobody goes beyond a certain point, which is illegal, which injures the reputation of the other person. I won't sit here and purport to know the details of the case in the instance of Captain Smart or Bobian. I won't sit here to purport that I know. But what I will also say is that, look, you may have the freedom to say what you have to say. But remember that freedom should not also injure my reputation as a citizen, because I am also protected under the Constitution of Ghana. That nobody should be able to injure my reputation and go scot-free. There are remedies, and if these remedies are being followed, I think that it's probably an evolution stage that we've got into. Over time, we need to strengthen our institutions, like Ben Epson is calling. Maybe GJA has a role to play to ensure that these people who go on media, in fact, media training is even one of the things we have called for, because look, a lot of people get a platforms, they don't have what it takes to be on, and so they tend to think that, look, once I am behind the microphone, I can say whatever and then go scot-free. Look, in opposition, we do political communications. A lot of the times you see a lot of the things and which are not really factual. But we should get to a point where we should go beyond that and be responsible when you get this platform, and don't take this freedom or the media freedom that we have today for granted. Look, some of us have lived through from the GBC to this era where we have countless number of radio stations and people have options. In the past, we didn't have these options.
All right.
But this is where we need to go. But I am calling for responsible journalism and also building our institutions going forward.
Honorable Suhi, I don't have much. I wanted you to take that bite because I didn't want to exclude you from that.
I thought it was our first topic.
Our first topic is the economics, so we now have to do that. That's the main topic. But this has
Then you have to change the flyer you shared with us, because the one I got on your Facebook page indicated is the first topic.
That is the first topic. That was the first topic for Efson and Abdullahi, but I've allowed you to have your bite.
Okay, I just will then, because I cannot
so make your
quick
comment.
I'll just say that
can I also have a
bite? yesterday, because of the concerns that many have raised, and genuinely so, I had to even make an appeal to the Business Committee of Parliament on the floor to invite the National Media Commission. I noticed that in your questioning earlier, you harped on the National Media Commission to perhaps brief Parliament on what they are doing.
Are you disappointed in them?
terribly disappointed, because if you look at Article 167 of our 1992 Constitution, 167A and B, clearly, if they were living up to that, we would not have what is happening now. And so I made that appeal that they must be invited. Unfortunately, I did not get the assurance from the business committee chaired by the majority leader that will happen. But I think that maybe if the media demands same of the National Media Commission, we will get them to tell the nation what they also think about what is happening and what they are doing about it. Because clearly, the purpose for which we repeal the criminal libel law is being defeated by what is currently happening now. Because you do not have time, I do not want to go into the details. But clearly, for the state to be involved in prosecuting people because they did publications against the First Lady, just reminds me of the reasons why.
The reasons reporter why said something about the president. I don't have the details of
that.
But
even if it's the president,
no, he had alleged that the president had meetings with some judges.
No, you see, listen. Mensa Thompson's case involves the president's family.
Yeah, but even that he apologized. So I'm just wondering.
You see, the apology itself.
No,
can I say anything?
Oh, let him apologize. Let him make his.
What I'm saying is that there was a reason why we repealed the criminal libel law. You remember when what's the name? Accra Daily Mail, Haruna Atta. When Haruna Atta and others were arrested. Why? When they were being prosecuted under the criminal libel law, it was because they had done stories against the First Lady. Not so. That is and we thought that the First Lady had the option of taking civil action against them, and the state should not be involved in prosecuting journalists if they did stories against people in states. So when you hear that Mensa Thompson, even after his apology, had to be prosecuted because his story affected the First family, it takes you back to the days when we spoke against the criminal libel.
It's like bringing it back to the back door.
It's unconscionable for people who spoke against those days.
But aren't they also human? I mean, let's face it. If I haven't taken lands at cantonments, and you know how many of us are sensitive about issues relating to land in Greater Accra. The people of Greater Accra have been very unhappy about what they feel is state grab of state assets which should have been reverted to them if they were not going to be used.
Even President Mahama and the wife, where they stay now, you've forgotten the stories that the MPP people wrote about them. You think it didn't hurt them.
Where do they stay?
But they knew that the position comes with its challenges. It comes with its challenges. If it is about land, what didn't they say about the former First Lady and the husband? Lottina and the husband. And the what's the name? The Burma camp area that they are staying now. What didn't they say? Didn't they also have this power? Or the police at the time did not care about their feelings? It's because the criminal libel law was not in place. And if they wanted to sue the people, they had the right to engage in a civil action against them, and not the state.
Yes, but that's the question I raised. But that's the question I raised.
Why is the First family not suing Mensa Thompson and it is the police?
So that's the reason I raised.
I mean, it's unconscionable.
I didn't even want to discuss the details.
No, I get you, but my point, but the point I kept trying to raise to you that you didn't address to me is why are you using the police?
Why are you using the state?
Let me make a point. The case of Mensa Thompson, alleging that the presidential jet was used by purported close family friends of the First family and all of that. But you see, the case in court, it is not being pursued by the First family or their alleged friends. The military is interested because they think that the military is in charge of the presidential fleet.
Stop it.
You see, when they think that the work of the military is being brought into question, they are in charge. And if the military has to take charge of the fleet and they are releasing it for unauthorized people, then it is a problem. It is a national security problem. This is why he can't just come and apologize and then go scot-free. If we allow things like that to happen, others will take the cue and they'll be doing worse things that is going to affect the security of this nation.
Look, the military have always denied. They have a very, very, and you know, I've worked in the media for a while now to know that one of the institutions with a very, very well organized communication outfit is the military.
Okay.
They have in the past denied things that they felt were not accurately reported with the skills that they have without going to prosecute people for getting it wrong. They have never done that. So when it is happening now, you cannot tell me that there are no underhand motivations to it. Please,
alleging
let's
that
stop it.
Okay, but
and you see, this also makes nonsense. This makes nonsense of the rejoinder, the purpose of a rejoinder. It makes nonsense of the purpose of a rejoinder, which is allowed in media practice.
So I guess it would be all right for me to say anything about you.
I'm talking,
and then in the next minute I come and sit here. Injure your reputation.
It is your reputation that is injured. If you lie and come back and say that you lied, it's your reputation.
What is the lie?
And that is the purpose of a rejoinder.
Up to say that
is the purpose of a rejoinder.
But they had a press.
It wasn't used.
No, but they had a press conference and it was carried. So that is why the question is.
My point
that is a national security issue.
It's a national security issue, and we
but
should not joke with issues
But I'm
like
just
that.
saying that there are civil options. Why go with the criminal option?
That is why
this is
I
a misdemeanor.
That is why I say, and I'll repeat, that no nation.
So you should go for the highest one.
No nation.
I tell you,
you should go for the highest one.
I tell you, Jifa.
Okay.
I have worked so hard over the years to build my reputation. And I won't take it lightly for anybody to come.
Even civil options have consequences in the sense that I remember Honorable Hakman Uswajiman and somebody else, they sued.
That's true.
And the damages given them was going to be enough to shut down the radio station or the media house. And they said that it wasn't necessarily about the money. They just wanted their reputation restored, which they felt the judgment had done. But they didn't say the person should go to jail.
We are all under the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution. If you choose to go the civil way, and I still have the option to go the criminal way within the limits of the law, it is my option that I have.
All right, I'm sorry, but we have to end
that no nation has ever successfully ensured responsible free speech using the coercive state of.
I don't think the state has any hand in all that.
It's the key points on TV3 and TFM. Thanks very much for staying with us. Some quick messages before we go on our break. The media must act with some level of responsibility. The Western media hardly make reckless statements. Really? Do you know? Do you really watch them? You need to check. This one says here, someone can pay a media person to dent someone's reputation. Those who allege must prove. And yes, if you file a defamation suit, the best defense is the truth. And that option is there, not necessarily a criminal option that may land someone in jail for more than a decade. This one says, as we speak about criminalizing speeches, e-levy, etc., the parents of university students must also sue the government and the university for loss of money paid to hostels, which will not be refunded because of the period lost while the teachers at the university are on strike. The government is taking us for granted. This one says from the Statesman on Twitter, something is not right. I wake up every day to see the Ghana police has made an arrest with issues concerning government. It's getting out of hand. It's obvious we don't have a listening government. May God help us. And those were some of your messages on Twitter. Thanks for sending them through.